blue skies call. They seduce us, pulling us irresistibly upwards, reminding us to fly our own line, on our wings, and in life. We are the seekers, adventurers, being one with the air, feeling everything and nothing at once. That's the magic we chase. Follow the call. Find your pure, wild flight with NZ Aerosports.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. All right, we are back in the can with another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. This week, I am your host, Zej Mski, and I am here today with Alix Raymond. Alix, who the fuck are you, and what the fuck do you do?
Who the fuck am I? That is an excellent question.
A lot of introspection out here, you know?
Oh, man. Well, right now, I mean, I'm a skydiver, obviously. No, I'm the Southeast Regional Director for USPA, but my term is about to be up in February. I did my attempt at a national director run, but that was unsuccessful this time around. I think Brandon is going to have fun with the Southeast region. Good luck to him. At least I don't have to deal with all these assholes down here anymore very much. So,
From the sounds of it, you're not going to be running for Southeast again.
No, you know, it's one of those things like regional director, I honestly think is a lot more work than the national director stuff. It really is. We get all of the problem children, if you will.
Yeah, I can see all the local stuff kind of falls on you before it can go any higher, right?
All the disciplinary actions, all of that stuff. When people decide to tell me things.
All right, wow, we already have so much to unload, you know?
Oh, man.
All right, so first off, you already mentioned this time around, so you're already hinting at possibly running again for national?
I mean, maybe at some point, you know, we'll give it the 3 years. It'll be kind of a nice break from being on the go and everything the last few years. Although, you know, I haven't been on a team the last 2 years with COVID and everything going on. I haven't had the opportunity to be on a competitive team and just kind of been getting my life together. So it'll be a weird little break from not having much responsibilities.
Wait, so you're a regional director who previous to that was a competitive skydiver.
Uh-huh. And a judge.
And a judge. All right, so you're a regional who is actually active in the sport. Oh my God, what a novel concept.
Oh my God, right? Seriously.
I think my bias is showing. All right, well, no, you know, before we get into all the stuff that you did as regional and what that was like, how about we talk a little bit further back? Who the fuck are you and what the fuck have you done? Because you just mentioned, you know, being a competitive skydiver, being a judge. Let's discuss that background a little bit as well, because that probably plays a big role in explaining why you were a regional and why you got what you did accomplished.
For sure. So, I mean, I started jumping back in 2011 was my first tandem. And then I did AFF December 2012 into land. Really was a super scared skydiver. When I first started, actually, I really enjoyed, I went through Skydive University, so I was able to get tunnel time before I did my first jump and everything. And that was really helpful for me to be able to overcome any of those fears. Fast forward that, I got in a four-way real quick at like 30 jumps because of the help of the NSL in Orlando. At that time, they were giving us free tunnel time, and it was great. Kurt Gable, he just got the, what award? One of the USTA awards, I think the gold medal award. He's been doing this stuff a long time, but he was definitely instrumental in helping us with that. So I got into competition real young, and that helped kind of draw me into everything else that I've been doing throughout the sport.
All right, so you started doing four-way.
Yep.
How long did that stick around?
Did four-way. I tried to put together an all-girls team out of DeLand, just like the rookie class of NSL for a while. Did that about a year, and then went to nationals with another team out of DeLand back in 2015. And I think we placed like 11th or 13th or something like that, which was whatever. It was fun. It was great. And then the next year got pulled right into doing advanced 8-way with Blocksmiths. So did the all-female team that year. And then quickly also started judging wingsuiting. So, my boyfriend at the time, he was on the US wingsuit team, and that was back in 2015. And I had gone over to England and kind of learned a lot about the wingsuit competition, got super into it, and became a judge, I think in like 2017. So got into that pretty quick.
Slight transition going from belly to getting into the wingsuit community.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a different group of characters. That is for sure.
I mean, if you want to throw out some stereotypes about one community versus the other,
man.
I'm all about hearing that stuff from an insider. Let's hear the real dirt.
Man, I don't know. I'm pretty sure wingsuit performance competitors are the nerdiest people in skydiving. I mean, it's like you walk around a competition, and again, this was back in 2015. This was the first World Wingsuit Cup, and nobody like really had any idea what was going on. Everyone was super friendly, but everyone was just sitting around at computers, right? And you're like, okay, what's going on right now? And everyone's got GPS units, they've got their fly sites, and they're like, all right, I gotta plug it in and I gotta check it out. And you're like, what in the hell is this group of people right now?
Are they worse than the swoopers?
Man, I don't know. The thing is, I haven't really been to a whole lot of swoop comps, so I haven't really seen, but I don't think the swoopers are as much sitting around their computers. I mean, I know they use the technology, they use the fly sites, but it's it's a whole different group of people. The acro guys are super fun. They just don't give a shit. I mean, they're like, we're gonna go fly around the sky and do fun things, and it's great, and they're always super fun.
I can think of a couple of acro guys. I feel like I need an interview now just to get their response to that comment. And you probably know exactly who I'm talking about.
Probably. Yeah, there's definitely some fun ones. But then, I mean, bring it back to FS and four-way, and I mean, it's been around forever. So you have a whole big mix of the guys who've been doing it forever, the old school guys, the ones who you're kind of scared to watch under canopy. And then you have like the new belly people. So it's cool. I really like being in both environments because you kind of get to see everything. And now you have the speed skydivers. And that is a whole different thing too, because a lot of the bigger guys are like, oh, well, I'm fat, I should be good at this. And you're like, no, there's a little bit more to it. So that's been really fun. And they're learning more about the technology that the wingsuit performance guys and the swoopers have been using for a while with the fly sites. And, with Kyle Lobry, man, he's a machine. He was
just crushing it in Siberia. Him and Maxine on the female side, obviously.
God, Maxine too.
You know who blew me away? Like Kyle, we were kind of expecting it coming into the comp, though. He is like the beast of speed. Mike Brewer, though, this tiny little scrawny dude who is a ninja in the air. When I saw the numbers he was putting down, I was just like, Brewer, what is up, man?
I know, and I was so sad that he didn't come back this year. But I mean, things happen, right?
Yeah, but hey, yeah, that's another one of those new disciplines that it's kind of like 12, but people don't like. It's kind of a thing that people sometimes do, but now I think it's getting a lot more attention.
I mean, there's definitely been traction, and hell, I just ready for this. I did an interview with the fucking New York Times. Like, what the hell?
I was at Maxine's in Utah when she did the interview for her part.
I'm like,
how awesome is that?
Email, and I'm like, the fucking New York Times is calling me right now. This is weird.
What was that like? What was like?
It was cool. They were like, like. I mean, I was a little worried because I was like, this is a serious, like, professional interview. I don't really know how to handle this, but no, I contacted Shannon right away when I got the email, and I was like, Shannon, this guy from the New York Times just contacted me. I don't know what to do. And she was like, oh my God, really? And I was like, yeah. She sends me to the HR department from USPA or whoever their people are, and they like send me a prep sheet. And I was like, oh God, is this like super serious? And I mean, no, it was really cool. And, we just kind of chatted about speed skydiving as a sport and how I was the chief judge this year for nationals and how things have just grown. And, of course, I try to talk him into doing a tandem, which I think I'll be able to get him to do next year. So it's going to be.
I love how you keep mentioning it's like a real serious interview, not like, some drinks with your buddy Zej. Yeah. What are you drinking over
Cheers. There? Allagash White, man. I love, I miss my Maine stuff. I lived in Maine for 3 years, and I miss the good New England beer.
God, there's some good beer up there. I'm drinking Corona Light because I'm coming back from having strep throat right now, so I can't really taste everything. But I figure strep is kind of like COVID-19 light, so Corona Light's only
Right.
appropriate.
It's totally appropriate. Absolutely.
All right, so a little bit of belly, and then we got into the judging stuff. Did you actually get into wingsuiting yourself? I've seen some photos of you in a wingsuit.
I started wingsuiting back in 2014, 15, 16. I don't know, one of those years. But in that time frame, I've only gotten about 200 wingsuit jumps. And, I fly my ATC and I have a Swift 3 and I love them. And I finally just got in my new Horizon 135 from PD this week, which I'm about to hook up this weekend. And I'm super excited about being able to fly that and both my Saber 3s. So I'm really excited to have brand new canopies.
So you have two wingsuits, you have very specific canopies for wingsuiting, but you don't take it seriously.
Listen, you gotta have the right tools for the job, right? I mean, I prefer to wingsuit a wingsuit canopy when I do actually wingsuit. And I'd like to do more of it. I mean, I'm not a great wingsuiter. I've been around it for a while, so people just automatically think I'm like pretty decent. No, I'm really not. But I want to do more of it. There's a few wingsuiters here at the farm, so here and there, can kind of get back into it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're at the farm now.
I am. Scout of Georgia. Yeah.
Scout of Georgia. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So now we kind of gave a little more background, coming up in the belly world, getting exposed to the judging world. And then 4 years ago, you decided to, I want to run for USPA.
So I started working for Randy before I even decided to run for the board. I was kind of involved in the rule writing process because it's kind of what I do for work in general anyway. I'm a behavior analyst.
For all of our listeners who don't know who Randy is, kind of give him a little props to Randy.
Sure. Randy Connell. Randy Connell was the previous director of competitions and records for USPA. And so back then, I'm a behavior analyst for work. I work with autistic kids, been doing it for almost 15 years now, which is a crazy number in my head. 15 years feels like a really long time to be doing anything. But so I do a lot of with rule writing and stuff like that. And Randy kind of had found out my talents back in 2015 at the World Wingsuit Cup in Netherhaven. And so chatting about it, he's like, man, I could really use some help rewriting some of the competition manual. And I was like, all right, cool. So I got contracted by USPA and by him and helping him rewrite some rules. And except for artistic, I won't touch that discipline. But for the rest of the manual, I was helping him write some stuff. And then from there, I started going to the board meetings. And at the board meeting, let's see, Tom Noonan was going to be retiring from the board. Yep.
Rest in peace, man.
Yep. That was a rough one. Yeah. Albert was going to be running for national director, and both of them kind of looked at me and they were like, you should run for regional. And I was like, what? Why? Okay. I mean, is it hard? What am I doing? They're like, no, you'll be fine. I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up running for regional, and I didn't really campaign much per se on that. I campaigned a little bit, but I'm going to give a little shout out to Key and Patrick over at Jump Georgia, who kind of ran my campaign a little bit. So that was fun. And I managed to get elected. And it was a really good 3 years on the board. I ended up on the competition committee and I ended up on the governance committee, and I had no idea what the governance committee was. But same thing, talking about rule writing and things like that. Ray Lalo as the secretary for the board and the chair of the governance committee kind of pulled me in and was like, hey, I'd really like your help looking over some of these documents and stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure, that works. So that's kind of how I ended up on governance. But then competition committee is my baby. I love being on that, and I'm going to be kind of sad to not be on that the next few years. But, I can kind of still go in as a consultant or whatever you will, if I want to. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Right, so if you had to split up how much of your time as regional director was focused on regional level stuff that was specific just to your states and your territory versus dealing with the national stuff of being on the committees and the national at large, how do you think that would break down?
I would say being at the regional level, man, Florida and Georgia is tough. There's a lot of drop zones. There's a lot of people, a lot of things going on. So inherently there tends to be a lot of things that might go wrong. So there were a lot of disciplinary actions, a lot of things you have to deal with, injuries, fatalities, and that's the not so fun part of being in this position. I learned a lot about the processes. I learned a lot about how disciplinary actions work, how not remorseful people can be about certain things, and just the general character. Of course, my dog's squeaking on the toy now. How people can just be, most skydivers are great. You want to believe everyone is inherently a good human, and I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and I try to really get all of the I don't know. I try to make sure that I give people a fair shot, when it comes to giving them a chance to defend their positions of things that they might have just fucked up on once, like if you don't know that it's okay to go up and have a sunset load beer, things like that. That may be I thought it was just tradition. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe it is, but man, keep that shit off Facebook.
No, what she meant to say is don't do it. Yeah, don't do it in the first place. But if you're gonna do it, don't be an idiot about it.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. But you learn a lot of people are idiots and that they don't know the rules and they don't know what can actually get them in trouble.
Yeah.
And so that definitely takes up a lot of the time, and being that I have a full-time job, and I mean, granted, it's a nice flexible full-time job, but between real work and then doing AFF and videographer stuff on the side, making time for the director duties is definitely something that would be a lot easier if I were a full-time skydiver. That is absolutely 100% for sure, which makes it difficult for people who want to be involved and be in that position for me to say, oh yeah, this would be great if you were a full-time skydiver. But the reality is that most of us aren't. Most of us are not full-time skydivers. We all have a whole lot of different stuff to do. So wanting to be involved and wanting to be on the board, it's definitely a tough balance. But I would say throughout most of the year, there's not necessarily a whole lot that has to do with the board as a whole. There'll be a few things that come in here and there, like, oh, hey, we have to talk about this rule change for competition that needs to happen like right now. And it's like, cool, let's either do a quick Zoom meeting or let's just do a email vote. And that's pretty much it. Or things will come through governance, same kind of stuff. But I think the majority of the time is definitely spent duty-wise on disciplinary actions, unfortunately.
I can also see that being a little bit a very specific thing of the Florida region. I could see you guys having a little bit more of that.
I mean, again, a lot of members down here, a lot of drop zones down here.
Yeah, no,
Everyone
that's exactly what I
comes down
mean.
here for the winter.
Yeah, people come down there on vacation all the time and just goof off. Yeah. And you have a larger population than almost anywhere else in the country, arguably.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure between.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say between I think in my region and I don't know, maybe Josh's region out in California might be the two largest because of all the people out there. Maybe Texas. I don't know. Texas is split into 4 regions, so who knows?
Yeah. All right. While we're on this topic, before we move on, the governance committee, because you've mentioned it multiple times, is another thing that I think a lot of skydivers don't really know what the hell they do. And I think so. Yeah, even when you brought it up, we got on the governance committee, what the hell is this?
Yep. With the governance committee, basically the USPA is governed by a set of rules. They are a what is it? Charitable organization. Can't think of what it's called right now. Nonprofit.
501c3.
That one. Thank you. 501c3. So there's a certain set of rules that they have to go by, and there are certain things in the governance manual that have to be followed based on the state that the USPA is incorporated in. Blah 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 blah. All of that, boring stuff. But basically, so we're kind of in charge of making sure that everything in there is right and legal, and we can't just add things to be like, oh well, we want USPA to do this. Talking about going to the Jedi stuff, right? There's things that we can't just necessarily add. We have to go in and make sure that it's gone through all the legal things and make sure that it's all copacetic before we can get it in there so that nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gets sued anymore than we already do. Yeah. So that's kind of really what we do in governance.
Getting sued anymore.
I know. I just mean that, like there's always lawsuits going on,
Yeah.
And that's one thing that members don't necessarily see either, is all that background stuff. It's like, oh, well, USPA money. And I'm like, well, sometimes USPA money is fighting lawsuits to keep drop zones open, keep airports open. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
All right. And so perfect chance to bridge topics, because you just happen to bring up Jedi, which obviously is a big thing that you're passionate about, something that I've actually been pretty vocal about. Obviously Melissa Nelson has been very vocal about. So let's cross over to that big rigmarole. And first off, talk about what it is, and then we can talk about the progress that was or was not made.
Man, I really wish I could talk more about what it actually is, but the thing is, I didn't see much of the presentation. And the problem with that was because a lot of it happened in safety and training committee. And because of being on the competition committee, safety and training and competition meet at the same time. So you probably even saw or know more about the Jedi stuff than I might even right now. I know we talked a bit about giving SNTAs a little bit of structure on how to handle these kind of situations on the drop zone. And that's something that I really would have liked to go through. There was some wording in there. It was a motion that didn't get passed this time around, to put wording in the SNTA handbook of how to handle situations of, sexual harassment or any other of those sensitive kind of topics that come up. And I definitely think it's important to be able to give those people who are in those leadership positions, either DZOs, DZMs, STAs, some sort of resources to assist when anything happens, on their drop zone.
Yeah.
Can you hear the squeaky toys?
I can totally hear the squeaky toys. Gotta love puppers. But yeah, so I mean, as far as I know that the motion didn't actually pass. I know that Melissa and I think it was Nicole that went out there with her to do the presentation. And yeah, I know that they were trying to push that, and I know that it did get shut down. But was it because of legal issues or because of legal concerns, or what happened there?
Man, I really wish I knew, honestly.
Okay.
I had brought up that I was wondering if there were any legal concerns over it. And it seemed like it had already gotten looked into, and that wasn't the case. So I just don't know if, I feel like some people on the board don't feel like it's USPA's place.
Got it.
And I think that's just kind of where that failed is USPA overreaching by putting these types of things into place. I think that's probably a major concern there.
I mean, do you think that there's members on the board who just don't think it's an issue?
Or I don't know if they necessarily don't think. I think they see that it's an issue, maybe not as much of an issue as other people see it that it is. I think they Havoc, this is not an opportune time. I don't think that there's necessarily legal issues with it from everything that I was talking, or everyone I was talking about it. But I don't know. I guess some members, like I said, some members of the board just feel like it's USPA overreaching, like it's not our place to be involved with those types of things that happen on the drop zone.
Yeah,
and that's also a tough spot.
Yeah, for listeners who aren't familiar with Jedi, it was justice, equity, diversity, and inclusivity or inclusion.
Inclusion, I think.
Yeah, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. It was a big push by Melissa Nelson to try to kind of try to see some changes in USPA to issues on those topics that she believes are occurring. And like Alix said, it was brought up earlier at the board meeting a couple months ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, about 2 months ago. So yeah, so I mean, I know that Nicole and Melissa are still pushing that, so we'll see what happens with that. But I know that it's definitely something that a lot of people were disappointed with. So just in case you had a perspective, I figured I'd bring it up.
Yeah, and I mean, candidly, right? There could be a situation where USPA as a whole could just decide, hey, we don't want group members who are not going to uphold these standards. But I feel like that would be a massive radical shift in thinking and in the structure of maybe what USPA is in general, right? Because we could very easily be like, okay, this is something that we don't want in our membership. And if you don't abide by these rules, because we have our group membership pledge, and if we put something into that group membership pledge where it said something to the like, if you tolerate this behavior on the drop zone, then you are no longer, eligible to be a group member, right? That could be a very radical shift.
Group membership is specific to the drop zone, not the individual jumper.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that's definitely been, it's definitely talked about whether group member drop zones should be adhering to a certain standard, if you will. I don't know. I don't know if people are ready for it yet. Unfortunately.
That's a big statement right there. And one that I kind of agree with, that is the big question. Are USPA members at large ready for that type of change? And I understand the other side of it. I know that like a couple people who are running for national are just like, we don't want more changes. We don't want more, regulations. We don't want to dictate and cause more and more bureaucracy within the sport. Let the sport take care of itself.
Yep.
But
and I get that too. As skydivers, that's historically who it is. It's like, fuck the government, right? Like we don't want regulations. We don't want these kind of things. That's kind of where people break off into base jumping, and base jumpers aren't regulated, so they can kind of do whatever they want, but as an organization that does necessarily have to follow some legal standards, there's definitely a change in perspective that's occurring throughout the community at large and the world at large.
Yeah.
So it's,
everybody always complains that skydive, we don't have enough females, we don't have enough minorities, we don't, all these unrepresented groups have such or lower represented groups, and we want to find ways to reach out for them. But then when people actually come along, like, okay, well, here's a solution to that problem, people are like, well, we don't want solutions, we just want to complain about the problem. But if you're going to come up with a solution that requires us to do anything or write something down or make, God forbid, make a change in the government's manual, no, we don't want that.
I once got forcibly resigned from a job because they told me that I didn't have a good rapport with the staff. And the reason I didn't have a good rapport with the staff was because I came in and I asked them to take data on some stuff. And it's like, all right, well, if you guys want me to change things from the inside out, then things are going to have to change. And if people don't like it, then people aren't going to like it. But don't fire me because I'm doing what you asked me to do. So it's the same kind of thing, right? It's like, if you say there's changes that need to be made, then be open to the changes. And unfortunately, looking at the community and talking about people who want to vote and people, I was still disappointed with the number of people that voted this election.
I actually haven't seen the numbers. What was it?
I think it was only like 5,000 or 6,000 total. And we have 41,000 members. That's a pretty disappointing percentage of the population. And for the amount of people who you hear on, as Facebook warriors and stuff, who are like, oh, we want change. It's like, well, that wasn't necessarily super reflected, So we'll see how the next 3 years play out. We'll see if, people who ran this year run again, and hopefully those people who did run stay involved, because I see a lot of times, especially in this national director run, that there were some people on there who was like, I don't even know who you are. I've never seen you at a board meeting. I've never seen you, do much of anything in terms of USPA or in terms of anything official. So, of course there were some high names on there like J. Russ, and it's like, man, I'm surprised that some of these guys didn't get more votes. So it'll be really interesting to see how all of that plays out. And if people, it's just politics. It's all politics in general,
Politics,
people
popularity
in the US,
contest,
man, that's it, man. People in the US bitch about how things don't change, but then they elect the same people over and over. It is what it is. It's all the same, right? But,
yeah, I mean, without getting into names, there's a couple individuals who I really loved seeing their names running, and I was super hopeful for them because I know that they have the mentality, they have the experience, they just checked every single box.
Absolutely.
But I knew that they didn't have the name recognition.
Yep.
And it sucks because when you work in the sport, you get to know them better, and you get to kind of have a little bit more perspective on a lot of people. And like I'll throw it out there. Larry Liebler is the one guy on that board who I absolutely Yeah, you can't even see on the audio. You're not gonna be able to see how like emphatically Alix is nodding her head. And I'm dragging Larry in for an interview at some point. He keeps avoiding my calls because
Have to get on him.
I'm trying to get him to talk to me. But you know, it just a pilot, a DZM, an experienced jumper, a former tour rep, all these things, but like super passionate, super active, always trying to communicate both on social media and to the board. And that's what I really wanted. But as much as I love him, like not a lot of people know who Larry is.
That's the thing. I had heard of him, but I had no idea who he was. And then I pretty much spent every day of the board meeting with him this time around.
Yeah.
As part of my, Cincinnati food tour group that I ended up seeing.
I think you guys sent me a picture flicking me off one night.
We did.
Yeah,
that was from some Belgian restaurant or some waffle place. It was delicious.
Yeah. I love my friends. That's how you send me low, the middle finger.
Yes, absolutely. But no, I mean, Larry and Pam, like they were really great to hang out with and kind of see their perspectives and learn more about, what they're about. And I was super excited to work with him more. So hopefully I do get to work with him more at some point on whatever we end up doing. So,
well, if you know him at all, he's a pit bull. He's not going to let one run discourage him. He'll be back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
if I've learned anything, I was talking about running for the board and talking about the whole election process. What Melissa Lowe has been doing has been absolutely amazing, and not just in the Jedi proposal, and not just in her popularity in general, but the fact that she set up this whole online forum on Facebook. The fact that she am I boring you? Pulling that she allowed all of us to put whatever we wanted out there on her own page. It was a really great way for people to get engaged, to ask us questions. And I'm really, really thankful that she was able to get that going and kind of try starting to get people more interested in the community, besides just the regular suspects of people who bitch about things on Facebook.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really did love her page, not just because one, I mean, it gave access to all the candidates, even the ones who don't have social media, which that's a whole different issue. But on top of that, it was a forum for people who you have all these stupid skydiver forums, like US fun jumpers, Northeast fun jumpers, Florida fun jumpers, Sopadarf, which is a whole different beast,
Oh, yeah.
And then you had her page where it was just like, really like, let's talk about issues. Let's talk about what needs to be discussed in skydiving as a whole. And before she was elected, that wasn't really a thing. You just had these completely random forums that didn't really give much cohesion and much like, I don't know, substance or structure to the discussions that needed to be had.
And, it's one of those things, again, going back to, well, what does USPA do for me? And I feel like that page has allowed more people to kind of ask questions and ask more, have things that have more substance beside just like, oh, well, I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that, whatever. It's like, no. Like, let's have the discussion. Like, you want to know why? Like, I will explain to you why we do the things that we do. And I didn't know any of this process until I actually got involved with the board.
Yeah.
And I started going to board meetings and I was like, oh, that's how this all works. Okay. Like, this makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't even say it's like, what is USPA? That was Melissa doing that on her own for the most part. That wasn't even a USPA thing. But the next thing
absolutely.
you know, she starts, a comment gets posted on her wall, on her official page. And the next thing you know, Albert is chiming in. And like, okay, well, and like props to Albert for, before getting elected, I did not really see him on social media that much. But he's another one who's kind of embraced it. Now that he's in that position, he's like, all right, I this is how the masses communicate. I'm supposed to be, representing this whole organization. Let's get on there.
Man, and talking about Albert for a minute, I love having Albert in that position as executive director. It is so refreshing. Someone who is an active skydiver, active competitor. Not that Ed wasn't. I loved Ed. Ed was great.
Yeah.
But having someone who's now been in the skydiving industry 20 years, but is still young, who has worked in all facets of skydiving.
I would not call him young. Come on.
Okay, listen.
I just had to throw that comment. I had to throw that comment out there so he hits me next time I see him.
Oh my God. I was like, he's older than us, but he's not that damn old, Jesus. But no, having someone who's like an active canopy pilot competitor, and just he competed in accuracy this year at nationals. That I thought was one of the coolest things. That I was like, really? All right, cool, whatever. But someone who's experienced in competition, who's experienced in marketing and gear and just having all of these ideas, and he's probably one of the most calm, level-headed people that I've ever met too.
Yeah.
And he's really pushing things, and the staff at USPA love working with him. And I think it's been really great for USPA as a whole to have him in there. Now, again, going back to, he wasn't elected, right? He's not an elected position. He was actually hired. So Albert is a hired position from the board of directors, hired to be the executive director of USPA. So it's not anything that anyone elected. And I think that's kind of an important thing, is that, yeah, he's getting paid to do his job, and he's already doing it well. And he's only been in not even a year. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see where he pushes, the organization to, of course, at the discretion of the board. But even still, I think it'll be really great things. I've been really involved with the US team over the last 5 years or so, trying to do a lot of the fundraising efforts, and I've been a team manager, I've been head of delegation, I've done a few things with the US wingsuit team for sure. And to see him automatically be like, I'm going to ride across Virginia to raise money for the US parachute team, I was like, this is amazing. Like, having an executive director of the organization who's so involved at the grassroots level is really, really awesome. I love having him there.
Yeah, again, for me, the biggest immediate sign is he called me about the ride as well, which was amazing. He raised a ton of money.
Yep.
But the second I started seeing his name pop up more and more and more on these forums, I was like, this dude gets it. This, like, he is passionate. He takes it seriously. And he wants to, like, not just be the face of the organization, but he wants to be a visible face. He wants everybody to know who he is, which is just amazing. Because, again, that social media factor, as much as we all hate it, it's here to stay.
Yep.
And it's something that has to be accepted by individuals in leadership positions, that this is going to be the make or break aspect of communications.
Absolutely.
Like, the magazine is, I love getting my monthly magazine, but I read about 3 sections of it,
Yep.
Whereas the everyday way that social media works, that is how most skydivers are getting their information about what's happening, what's changing, etc.
Yep. And before even any of this started on Facebook, I remember, back in 2012 when I got when I started skydiving, the only thing out there was dropzone.com, right? And that's still an active forum. And it's kind of interesting to see what's going on in that active forum still, and who's commenting on those things and who's learning things. And you're not necessarily getting the same stuff that you're getting on Facebook. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I hate it, like, you hear about incidents, especially fatalities, more quickly on social media than anywhere else, which sucks. And I hate that practice, obviously. I think anybody who's been in the sport for more than a minute does, but it's just a reality, And
but then there's all kinds of conspiracies that come up. I mean, especially with what's been going on right now with Tom and everything. And it's tough because, it's like everyone just wants to know what actually happened. But when you start getting in conspiracies, it doesn't help anybody. Yeah. It really doesn't.
I mean,
and this is definitely the downfall of social media.
I mean, this is an actual interesting idea. I mean, if we think about how important this is, and unfortunately how quickly information spreads, even, like, I don't know, maybe it's starting, like, I know when I went through AFF, Serena was who I think from Z Hills. She used to be at Sky's the Limit. I remember you met her. Anyway, it was one of those things that she brought up when I was an AFF student was, hey, sooner or later you're going to know somebody who dies in this sport.
Yep.
When that day happens, don't be that person posting on social media.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's not written down anywhere. It's just one of those, things that anybody who's been in the sport for a minute understands and tries to impress upon younger jumpers. But that's one of those things I would love to actually see included in a sim. Something about, like, hey, this is a reality that you are going to deal with. Like, hey, how to be a professional, courteous, responsible skydiver when it comes to dissemination of information about shit like that.
Maybe that's something that could get worked into an AFF course, like an AFFI course somewhere along the way, or like any instructor course, coach course, tandem course, like how to disseminate information to students,
Yeah.
you know, and bringing those things up, like, don't go change your picture to black. Like, come on, you know, because everyone's like, oh, great, who died? And it's like, all right, this is not helping anything. But yeah, you know, just more information coming down through AFF instructors and instructor rating holders in general. I definitely think it would be a nice thing to include besides just the basics. Like, here's how you teach someone to skydive. No, I mean, let's get a little more into that. You know, let's be sensitive to other things that happen in the sport and maybe teach them some of the realities of the sport. You know, maybe it's you hear someone in the sport that dies, and then it's a friend of a friend, and then it's a close friend, and then it's someone really close to you. You know, it's like, the longer you're in the sport, the things are going to happen. I know that with base jumpers, you know, when they go through their course, I've seen a course where the first 3 hours of the course, they sit and watch carnage video. And then after that, it's like, all right, you still want to do this thing? All right, now let's learn how to base jump, you know. And it's like, maybe a little more reality of the sport sometimes could be a good thing. Of course, we never want to discourage anyone from being in the sport either. You know, we love to see people in the sport. I love shooting tandem video. I love seeing people's first reactions to skydiving, you know. And it's like, there's certain people I'm like, you should come back, you should be a part of this, but you got to be ready for the bad side of things too, unfortunately.
I mean, that's something that, like, I think I've discussed with you before, is like, when do you have that bowling conversation with somebody?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's part of the same thing. You know, we want to encourage people to be in the sport, but there's people who just, this isn't for them, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not just about the fact they're dangerous. Some of them just, they give the sport a bad name, you know? And then that's unfortunately something that the social media makes so easy to do. Yep. As you bring up with some of the disciplinary cases that you've seen in the past.
Yeah, man, you know, taking this to a whole different direction for a short period of time. A few years ago, I think it was, I saw a post on Reddit, and it was about a skydiver who, I don't remember if he was in Australia. I think he was in Australia, maybe England. But he had a difficult time going through AFF and was kind of given the bowling conversation. And come to find out, he was autistic. And of course, like, being, you know, the person that I am and being in the industry that I am, I was like, like, talking about skydivers with disabilities and reasonable accommodations. The issue with this guy was that they were making him wear a full face helmet. And he had already had tunnel time, and he had, or not, sorry, they were making him wear an open face helmet. He'd already had time with a full face helmet. Yeah, sorry. He'd already had time with a full face helmet in the tunnel, and he was used to it. He knew how to open and close it. He had his G3, whatever it was. But the AFF instructors there were like, no, absolutely not. You can absolutely not jump with that. And he had a bit of a sensory overload problem, where, because the wind was hitting him so much in the face, and he had been used to flying in the air in this, sorry. He had been used to flying, you know, with the helmet on, that he freaked out under canopy, and freaked out in free fall, and they had to pull for him, and it just became this whole thing. And it's like, we would love skydiving to be accommodating for as many people as we want to accommodate it for, but it's a very interesting line to talk about skydivers with disabilities and what we can reasonably accommodate. And of course, I want to try to accommodate everyone. Like, this is kind of what I do, right? Like, I'm so used to taking kids and adults, you know, on the spectrum out into the world where everyone else lives. And it's like, how much of that can we safely do here for people who, like, can we make those accommodations? Sure. If there's an accommodation that's not going to hurt anybody, why can't we make those accommodations? You know, and so I talked to this guy, and I was like, oh no, if you're in the US, like, we're going to talk about this. Like, I'm going to come to your AF. And he was like, no, I'm in Australia. I was like, okay. But, you know, I think it's just, skydivers with disabilities is a great thing. And I've been really interested to see how that kind of progresses along with everything. So that was just my little side note there.
I mean, and I'm kind of curious what have happened in that case, because I mean, in the U.S., it's not a requirement; it's a recommendation, I believe, right?
For full face helmet or for an open face helmet. I mean, I think it's definitely. I don't even think it's written. I think it's just written as a hard helmet. You know, you can't wear a strap hat during AFF, right? Yeah. You know, so I've definitely seen people who's like, okay, on jump 2 or 3, they can show that they can open and close or whatever, and per the drop zone, like here at Skydive Georgia, as long as you can show that you can reasonably open and close it and then like fog it up and be able to open it under canopy, you know, even in a weird situation, if you can show that awareness, yeah, sure. As long as you don't have a tinted visor and we can see your eyes and see whether you have the fear in your
I could
eyes.
see being an issue. Yeah.
You know, but just like some drop zones require a jumpsuit till 100 jumps. You know, I mean, every drop zone kind of has that autonomy there. Yeah, I don't remember how we got into this conversation, but I just wanted to sidebar into that.
Well, that's what I love about this format. I mean, like I said, I just want to know who you are, what the fuck you do, and let's go with that. You know. All right. Well, we've gone about who you are, what you do. Actually, what ratings do you have? Because I also didn't bring that up, and normally I bring that question up early.
What ratings? Well, let's see. I mean, I had let my coach rating lapse, but I just got my AFF rating in January with the wonderful Mike Watkins. That was a great course. I've actually since helped him out with a coach course that we did here, and I got to play bad student, and that was super, super fun during the coach course. And I would love to do more of that. But besides that, I have a regional and national speed skydiving judge rating, and I have a regional, national, and international wingsuit skydiving judge rating, and I'm also an international wingsuit judge trainer. So I can train the international wingsuit judges.
Nice little list there. There you go.
Yep.
All right. So your term ends in what? 2 months?
February. I think it's the next board meeting. Whatever the next board meeting is. Yeah.
All right. What's next for you? What's next for you? Like,
man. Well, I'm really hoping to get back on an 8-way team for the 2022 season. I've already, talked to someone, but there's like 12 candidates on his list, and we'll kind of see if I end up as one of those 8. So would be really excited to get back on that team. Looking at the list of people, it would be a really, really fun team. So that would be great. If not, if I don't end up back on a team, I actually kind of want to learn to fly video. I got my first camera suit a few months ago and I still haven't jumped it. But I will hook up my camera jacket, and I'm contemplating trying to put together, there's a new beginner category in 4-way that we tested out this year that we will be doing again at Chicago. And so I'm contemplating seeing if I can put together a beginner 4-way team here and teach myself how to fly 4-way camera. So that'll kind of be dependent on whether I get on this 8-way team or not. But besides that, I kind of just gonna work on my own skills. I've been doing, I'd been doing a little bit of tunnel time, trying to do a little more free flying. Since the last time that, as let's see. Oh God. We did one free fly jump. It was like 2019 Carolina Fest. And that was probably I probably had like maybe 20 free fly jumps at the time. And I think, we did like 2 jumps maybe at Summerfest, maybe 1 free fly jump at Summerfest this year. And I probably have like 40 free fly jumps now. But so a little bit more free flying. Like I said, get back more into wingsuiting, but I've only done about 20 AFF jumps, and I definitely want to do some more AFF stuff. And kind of just work on my own skills and, just take some time for myself, which I'm really bad at. I'm really bad. I kind of say yes to everything. I may not, if I end up on the 8-way team, I might not even be able to judge this year because of the overlap in the disciplines at Chicago. So we'll kind of see what happens with that.
Yeah. I'm so stoked for Chicago.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Between SDC and Skydive Midwest, like that teaming up right there. I
think it was a brilliant idea.
Absolutely.
Brilliant idea.
The Georges and Rook, like that's a match made in heaven. They're so close to one another, and their facilities complement one another so well. Not to mention they're both world-class facilities in my opinion. So, I'm so stoked about this nationals.
Yeah. I think it's worked out well. And I think that if more drop zones had kind of thought about that and started working together to do these nationals so that one drop zone doesn't get so overwhelmed. It's right now when we're doing this Mondial style nationals, we're getting, 3-4 weeks of competition. And that's a lot of time. That's a toll on a drop zone. That's probably a lot of money lost for the drop zone too, because nationals, make money at nationals.
Yeah.
And, then you're losing potentially a lot of tandem business. And so it'd be kind of nice for people to split things a little, but still have it as working together. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah. I mean, in past years, it has been split where you've had all the canopy stuff at 1DZ. You've had, it's happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah, but not under. But that's the thing. Like these have been under one encompassing banner. Of like the 2021 USPA skydiving nationals. It's not like the free fall nationals and the parachute nationals kind of that we've had it in the past, or like the wingsuit nationals will be here. It's really nice having the camaraderie of having everyone at one drop zone. And this nationals was weird. This nationals at Eloy was strange because we had the main drop zone and we had Sawtooth, and we were half an hour from Eloy. So it was kind of a weird thing like that, even though it was the same drop zone running things, like we had us bastard children of wingsuiting and speed and accuracy and crew over at Sawtooth, and then, 4-way and 8-way and all that stuff over at Eloy. But I think they did a really good job of making sure that, we all kind of were accommodated. And I think that with the World Championships being there next year at Eloy, that they're going to do an even better job making sure that everything's accommodated there. So.
Yes. I mean, they definitely have the facilities, and they definitely have the planes.
They have the planes for sure. They have the planes. They have the pilots. They have the ground crew for sure. Brian Burke is a awesome man running the ground crew there. So, all
right. Well, anything else that you're trying to accomplish last second before you walk away from your term as regional?
One thing that I really wanted to try to do, and I don't know if I'll be able to get a chance to do it before I leave, is trying to get more, talking about accommodations and skydiving in general. I think there's a need for more things in Spanish. We have such a huge Spanish speaking population, not only in the US, but in USPA in general, that I really think it's time for the USPA to get on making things accessible in Spanish as a starting point. Of course, like we have group member drop zones all over the world, but some of the biggest ones are in Spanish. And to continue creating, high quality instructors under that USPA banner, I think it's really important for there to be a good, solid translation of both the sim and the IRM in languages that people naturally understand. I'm the kind of person who I do a whole lot better in writing than I do speaking or listening or anything. I write better and I read things better and I understand them better when I see them in written language. So I think that in order to help those instructors who are trying to learn, trying to pass on this information, I think having copies of these in Spanish is definitely a good starting point. The argument has been that things have been translated. I know there's a group of Colombians that have translated the SIM and the IRM, but I would really like to see USPA kind of take this under the USPA banner and start including more populations.
What's the status on that? Has anything been moving forward, or?
Not
so you're not the first person to bring this up. I've heard this conversation before.
There's So there was one conversation that we had at the board meeting about SNTAs and foreign SNTAs, and Ron Bell kind of has that foreign SNTA situation, and I kind of got into a little bit of a heated discussion about allowing, it more came over to disciplinary actions and things like that. But that aside, I feel like there are some members of the board who don't necessarily feel that, again, it's our place to be able to accommodate a whole nother group of people who aren't necessarily, USPA members, even though they are members, but they're foreign affiliates. It's a weird, sticky situation. And, again, talking about going back to how certain people aren't ready for things. So.
Gotcha. It's unfortunate that we
hopefully at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully at some point, but it's, I don't know. I would love to see more inclusive groups want to get involved at USPA level,
Yeah. We're definitely on the same page. And I think most jumpers in our generation are. I think we just need to keep pushing for it.
Yep. Absolutely.
So,
we can keep getting those people involved, and the people who want to be involved and want to be represented. If we can get people represented, that's what it is, But I definitely talked to a lot of U.S. citizens who are from other countries, and I've talked to some of the South Americans and stuff, and they're definitely all about having a sim and an IRM in Spanish. And I think it would just be a matter of funding, getting someone staffed, like even if it's a contracted staff, to just be like, okay, after every update, every board meetings, we have someone fix whatever he translate. Of course, the initial translation might take a minute, but again, it's already done. We just have to work with the people who have already done it and then get someone to be able to keep things updated. But I think it's an important need for people in the community.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, Alex. Well, start wrapping up. First off, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I miss you.
I know,
great job. Great job over the last couple of years in your role as regional. I personally, I always felt like I love my regional, Shauna Finley. I love Shauna. She's amazing. And another one of the female regionals, which is awesome that she's from my region because I love her so much.
Yep.
But you kicked ass for the last 3 years, and I have a feeling that you're not going to step away from being a passionate advocate for the issues you feel strongly about, regardless of 8-way or anything else you get involved in. I have a feeling that you're still going to be a very vocal individual within the sport. So thank you for that, because we need more of that. So
for sure.
Yep. So anyway, thank you again for coming on. Any last comments? No?
When are you going to run for the board, Zej?
Wow. Wow.
We'll get you in there at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I've considered it, and you are not the first person to say that I should. Obviously, I'm a loudmouth who has strong opinions on a lot of things.
You'd have to run as national though, because we can't lose Shauna.
That's a huge part of it. I don't want to run against Shauna because I love her so damn much. And I think she does an amazing job, both as a regional, like she's fantastic, and I personally would not feel comfortable running for national until I've been at the regional level. I think that people should at least walk through the steps and learn more about it. Before the reference, that's my biggest personal stumbling block, because I'm in a region where I don't want to displace an amazing regional director. And then I'm trying to go to law school next year. So if I do that, I'm not going to have time for about 3 years. But then,
but you'd be a perfect addition to the governance committee.
Yeah, I think there's members of the governance committee who would kill you for even suggesting that. I think I would be their worst nightmare if I was a member of that committee.
No, it'd be wonderful.
Really? Yeah, because I remember, I'm not going to name names, I remember when I was running for Blue Skies and I ran into a PIA, and a member of that particular committee was like, "Oh, are you one of the writers for Blue Skies who thinks I'm a crotchety old skydiver who only belly jumps?" Yeah, that reaction is forever cemented into my mind. So I doubt that I'd be too welcome there, but then again, that's maybe exactly why I should be there.
Hey man, we're talking about turning things on its head, right? Maybe at some point.
I mean, after law school, I don't plan on stopping skydiving over the next couple of years. I'm sure that'll limit my numbers, but I'm still going to stay an active jumper and still stay active in the community. Like I said, just like I know you are. So,
yep.
And yeah, so I can't wait to see what now that you're not a member of the board as well. I have a feeling that's actually going to open you up to a little bit more vocalness on certain issues.
We'll see. I tend to not put anything out there that permanently can be forever etched. I mean, now of course we've just had all this conversation that's going to be on the internet forever, but I try to take things very professionally as much as I can, while being vocal enough to really kind of press the issue as far as I can.
Well, professionally speaking, I think that you have a little bit more leeway now that you're not going to be a board member. How about that? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, whether I'll take that leeway or not, we'll see.
All right.
I may never have a chance of getting back on the board.
Or that'll be the reason that you get back on the board. Hey, let's be honest here.
Fair enough.
All right, Alex. Well, thanks again for your time. And once again, everybody, this has been Zej Mski with Alix Raymond on the Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. Stay tuned for future episodes, and thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.
And there you go. Another episode of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void in the can, brought to you, as always, by, that's right, NZ Aerosports. Fuck yeah. Brought to you by Summit Parachute Systems. Head to summitparachutesystems.com. You can check out the badass pilot rigs that Jarrett Martin and the family are cranking out over there, as well as the incredible rigging courses that Jarrett gives. As for me, I am the fucking pilot. Head to thefuckingpilot.net or theprincesspilot.com, where you can find links to all the previous podcasts and both the books. We'll see you next time.